Governor Greg Abbott has done it. He has officially declared the uncontrolled mass illegal immigration into Texas an invasion. Just a few hours ago, Governor Abbott took to Twitter and made the following announcement, quote, "I invoke the invasion clauses of the U.S. and Texas constitutions to fully authorize Texas to take unprecedented measures to defend our state against an invasion. I'm using that constitutional authority and other authorization and executive orders to keep our state and country safe." And then he listed out a number of measures that Texas is now taking to stop the massive flow of illegal migrants into their state. So Abbott will be deploying the Texas National Guard to safeguard the border and to repel and turn back immigrants trying to cross the border illegally. He'll be deploying the Texas Department of Public Safety to arrest and return immigrants to the border who crossed illegally and to arrest illegal immigrants for criminal activity. They're going to be resuming building the wall in multiple counties on the border. We'll be talking about that in a bit. He'll be deploying gunboats. He'll be designating Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, entering into a compact with other states to secure the border, entering into agreements with foreign powers to enhance border security, namely, of course, Mexico, and providing resources for border counties to increase their efforts to respond to the border invasion. Impressive stuff. So Governor Abbott is going full steam ahead with this invoking of the invasion clause. Now, if you're not familiar with it, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution gives the right to every state to declare war if they're actually invaded or in imminent danger. It's an inherent part of the separation of powers structure. States do not need Congress's approval. It doesn't even have to be an army that's invading them. Some of the founding fathers, like James Madison, explicitly stated that Article 1, Section 10 can be invoked against smugglers. Madison specifically cited Virginia using its militia to stop smugglers as an example of a valid exercise of the invasion powers. Again, the principle is simply one of state sovereignty. If the sovereignty of state is violated, that state has the right to declare war on an individual basis without congressional approval. So this is what Governor Abbott is doing here. Now, of course, he's going to get pushback from the all-powerful, all-wise federal government that hasn't read the Constitution in decades. And they, through their mouthpieces in the legacy media, they'll be pushing the whole question as to whether Abbott can capture, detain, and send people back to Mexico as a state governor. Can a state governor treat people basic like POWs and all that? When for decades this has been the sole prerogative of the federal government. That's what they're going to push. We're going to see how this all plays out. But Governor Abbott is doing precisely the kind of governance that we predicted would happen last week. One of the things we talked about after the midterms was the powerful impact the various new Republican supermajorities would have on what's called sanctuary states. Now, again, while sanctuary states are generally associated with left-wing causes like embracing illegal immigration, right? They also have significant relevance for the patriot right. Sanctuary states in this sense, in the nationalist populist Patriot Sense, are deep red states that are committed to protecting their citizens from any and all Democrat programs and persecutions coming down the pike from Washington, D.C. So what we've been seeing over the last particularly 2 years is more and more red states joining together and in effect forming an administrative and legal wall against the assaults on our civil liberties by the blundering Biden administration. And one of the arguments that I made last week in the aftermath of the midterms is that the Republican supermajorities that were formed from red states going even deeper red, like Texas, red states can now increasingly set their own political agendas regardless of what D.C. wants or says. Any attempt by D.C. to obstruct state efforts is immediately thwarted with those massive state majorities. So this is why Texas is going forward with building the wall. If you're not familiar, what Texas has been doing is they're installing makeshift border walls created from repurposed shipping containers in strategic locations where migrants are likely to illegally cross. And at least part of this wall, as I understand it, at least part of this wall is significantly under budget in terms of the monies that Abbott and the Texas legislature have already allocated to finishing Trump's wall. Governor Abbott has awarded a multi-million-dollar contract to a private building company to begin construction of the border wall that Abbott mandated in a recent executive order. And as part of those building efforts, Texas has actually been putting good use to shipping containers and repurposing them for a very effective and very fast wall build. Reports are that the wall is going up in record time and at very little expense to the Texas taxpayer, at least when it comes to these makeshift walls. And now with this invasion declaration, the Texas National Guard and the DPS, the Department of Public Safety, now they can begin arresting perpetrators and sending them back over the border. So we'll certainly be keeping our eyes on how things develop here in Texas, but I do believe we're seeing the first of what promises to be many more examples of deep red Republican states beginning to take matters into their own hands in the face of the bumbling incompetence of the dolts of D.C. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You definitely want to check out my latest video. You're going to love it. It's on Jordan Peterson stunning Piers Morgan into absolute silence on Donald Trump. You're going to absolutely love it. So make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.